So, Trent, what have you been eating
I'm
recently?
gonna take this opportunity to let the audience know that this is actually take two for the opening. Parth just asked me a minute ago amidst take one, and I was unable to fester a response. And then he was like, "So Trent, like, because you were silent, that must mean like." Subsequently, I stepped away I said, "Let me get a glass of water," and Parth rightfully figured, "Oh, Trent is getting that glass of water, so he has something to talk about during this portion of the film discussion." And then I returned, and he was like, "Oh, you haven't eaten anything? It's 5 p.m. Like, you must be hungry." And then I told him, "No, for breakfast, I had smoothie and eggs. And then for lunch, I had chicken tenders, carrots."
You didn't say that. I stopped you so that we
You
could
stopped me
record
because
it.
you wanted this to be original
Genuine reporting.
content, and you
Right.
wanted to have like a genuine facial
Reaction.
reaction. Although there's no visual component to this podcast, let the record reflect that Parth looks shocked and intrigued. Yeah, that's his shocked noise. And now I'm drinking the aforementioned glass of water, but that was just more to wet my whistle. Enjoy all these liquid
Thank you for that.
sounds.
Thank you for that term, Trent.
Yeah,
I'd like to wet your whistle.
we are an ASMR podcast now. Parth, sorry that got out of hand. What have you been eating?
I had most recently lemonade because
The drink?
the drink. Actually, it was a Capri de Soleil lemonade.
I didn't know you spoke French.
Well, what can I say? I'm a man of surprises.
Yeah, you're a Renaissance man.
No, there's a funny story behind why
Oh,
I
tell
called
me.
Capri Sun
I
Capri
love
de Soleil.
stories. Oh, please.
It's not actually that funny. I said it one
But
time.
it sure is a story.
I said it one time to my friend Jessie, and she laughed really hard when I said it. And you see, it's like Cirque du Soleil, except it's Capri de Soleil.
Does Jessie have a high standard for comedy, or will she just
She
accept
really
anything?
likes white chicks.
The movie?
Yeah, the one where they
Yeah. It's
like
black
two
men, and then they
6 foot something black men go on
transform
in white
themselves.
face and are blonde white girls to be exact.
I've seen this movie, and
Wait, why?
well, does that mean you haven't seen this movie? I'm not advocating for it. I'm not saying I liked it, but we crossed paths at one point. But I heard I read an article that it was like getting canceled because it's
White face
it's cultural appropriation, but for Caucasians.
of white people who
Yes.
are
Here on Craft Services, the podcast, we like to watch out for our European friends.
right. And again, last week we kind of showed everybody just how against racism we were.
Mm-hmm.
And we like to extend that to our white majority male friends. Let's be honest.
Parth, I have another podcast-related announcement.
Let's hear it.
So do you know how last week we put out a call for action about which Phineas and Ferb character I was?
Yes.
I had someone respond.
What?
Yeah.
I want to hear it.
Participation. Do you want to take a guess?
Are you?
It's a main character. Not to give it away. As in, they aren't like just like a side character that you wouldn't be able to guess.
I feel like I don't know how main this person is. I feel like visually you just look most like Jeremy. But
yeah, I mean that's a fair observation, but it was more off of like energy or like personality. I'm just gonna tell you.
Please do.
It was the titular character Phineas.
Because you're more gregarious than Ferb, and you don't speak British, right?
My question was why, and then she said, "What is Phineas's catchphrase?" And I said, "I know what we're gonna do today." And then she said, "You were good at planning," and I said, "That's fair," and I took that as a compliment. I mean, I don't like
that. Planned this podcast that we're listening to right now
single-handedly. I just took Parth on out of the kindness of my heart. But the
podcast was my idea. Let's be clear.
Moving on. I don't like my resemblance to Phineas. And I would rather be
Baljeet.
No, I won't go on the record as saying I'd rather be Baljeet. But Buford just that like hits home for me.
You like
Something
being the
about
bully,
harassing like the smaller, like
Indian
the
child.
weaker. Oh, I didn't bring race into this. That was you.
He did.
Well, that's just your past trauma slipping out. So no need to force it upon me. Do do you have any cartoon related content you'd care to share with the teens of America, which is our audience?
Um,
Mostly Americans and presumably mostly teens.
hopefully white. I mean,
Parth,
what
Parth, you keep hammering away at this.
I
What do
well,
you? What agenda are you serving?
I think we're
It's
just gonna cut.
scaring me.
We're gonna cut to the show now.
Welcome back to Craft Services, where we talk about movies. Each week, we discuss a different film and hopefully have an interview with a crew member of that film to talk with us about their experience. This week, we're talking about John Wick 2, or well, I guess, excuse me, John Wick Chapter 2, which immediately follows John Wick. And with us, we have the trailer.
Shocking.
And with us, we have the trailer music composer, Ritchie Kohan. Parth conducted this interview alone.
Solo, like my favorite Star Wars film.
So Parth loves the movie Solo, and he did this interview alone, which
This was a
very
guy.
nice of him.
He was the music. He composed the trailer music for John Wick Chapter 2 and 3. Although he was uncredited on 2, which is interesting.
That's disrespectful.
We get into that in the interview.
So this is us crediting him.
Yeah.
Finally.
But unfortunately, we only talk about the movie Solo, which he did not work
Really?
on.
That's shocking.
It was.
Did he have a lot to say?
He was like, much like Star Wars: The Last Jedi. You really subverted my expectations about what this interview was going to be about.
Wait, so Parth, is that let's clear the air. That was a joke, right? Because I wouldn't want to mislead our listeners about what to expect with this upcoming. You talked about like John Wick 2 related stuff?
We did not talk about Solo.
No. Did he ask you any personal questions? Was he like,
I'll be honest,
what are you wearing?
Off camera, it got a little interrogatory.
He was like, have you committed any crimes recently? And you're like,
it was more so, would I be willing to commit crimes for him?
Your response?
Well, you'll have to let's cut to the interview now, won't we? Hello, everybody. I'm here with Ritchie Kohan. He's an incredibly talented artist who's worked in the music department for such films as X-Men Apocalypse, Ghost in the Shell, Beautiful Boy, and has worked on the trailer music for John Wick Chapters 2 and 3. I'm incredibly excited to talk with him, so welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
So we generally like to start our interviews by asking what got you into film and like what laid your interest in it.
Well, I think for a long time I'd actually avoided doing music for film because I wanted to be an artiste, I suppose, as they say. So I spent my 20s sort of making whatever music I wanted. And then eventually I was earning, sort of earning a living as a teacher, making sort of very little money and just spending the rest of my time just kind of making music. You know, I had a band for a while. I was just studying orchestration on my own. And then eventually I realized I kind of needed a career. I couldn't spend the rest of my life just being, extremely broke. And what I was doing musically really lended itself to film. I think like in my heart, I probably always wanted to be a film composer, but I think I was sort of afraid to do it for two reasons. One of which was that I would have been forced to make music that I really wasn't that excited to make. And I think the other one, which is perhaps more important, but I had not really acknowledged, was that I was afraid I wouldn't be able to do it. I wouldn't be able to have my skill set just wouldn't live up to what was needed for all of that stuff. And I sort of passed it off as just not wanting to, but really I think there was a big fear element too. After having sort of studied orchestration just out of my own sort of curiosity for it, that was a huge asset in sort of making the transition into film music. So I met a few people. The first person I ended up working for was named John Paisano, who's best known for scoring the Maze Runner films, Daredevil, and lots of other stuff. And I learned a lot of this sort of technical craft from him. He's really computer savvy. So I learned sort of like what computer I would need and what software I would need and how to set up. I was using Logic. So how to set up my Logic template so it would be, prepared for the type of stuff that we were doing. I also sort of around then I had been sort of making trailer music just on my own and giving it to whoever I knew or had contacts with in the trailer music world. So after doing that for a while, I had, sent a bunch of music to this one person who was working at a big trailer music house at the time. And eventually she ended up taking on some pro bono gig for some reason. So she needed a composer who would work for free, and I was happy to at the time. So I did this project for her, and not long after that, she ended up leaving that company and starting her own. And she needed someone to do custom work for her and just to provide music for her. And that was really those two things, working for Paisano and then working for the new company called Scorebird, were the beginnings of my career, and they just kind of went from there.
That's super cool. It sounds like you were at the right place at the right time, sort of.
Yeah, I mean, it took a while to get to that point. So it took 2 years of trying to do stuff. And on the one hand, that kind of seems like a long time, but at the same time, it's also kind of not. I'm sure many people end up going to work at Remote Control and interning there or whatever for years. That's Hans Zimmer's studio. Right. And they'll just get coffee for 2 years before they do anything, in music. And then the next thing they'll do is just print stems for several years. And then they have to claw their way up. So in a sense, I kind of got to skip that step. Although, I mean, there's many different ways to get into the industry.
You said that your sort of method was sort of attuned to film already. So I was wondering what you sort of meant by that.
So it wasn't my method, but I think just the music that I was making, it was very cinematic. In my 20s, I had a band that, I mean, it was almost more film score than it was a rock band. And so I just kind of had this sensibility about that. And I had always wanted a visual element and a storytelling element to the music, but I never really had that for that project. And I think that was one of the big pieces that was missing from it. So I guess I've always loved the idea of creating a world through music. And that's, very much what film composers are doing. Yeah. And I think also instrumentationally, you have the flexibility to use really any instrument. Like in rock music, people do incorporate other stuff, but it's ultimately centered around, drums, guitar, bass, whatever.
Right.
Whereas in film music, you can really base the music on anything you want.
You have lots more options, basically.
Yeah. So that was something that I was always interested in, using sort of unusual instruments and creating, different kind of sound palettes with that.
So to just sort of get more specifically into your work on John Wick, you're uncredited, it says on IMDb, for John Wick Chapter 2, and you are credited for Chapter 3. Mm-hmm. And so I was just wondering how you came to be involved with Chapter 2 and what the difference was between the two projects, considering you were credited on one and not on the other.
So that project came about through the trailer sort of company that I was working with called Scorebird. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I was doing with Scorebird at the time was taking classical pieces, popular classical pieces, in that case Vivaldi, the Seasons. For me to be able to create my own master, I had to mock up the orchestration using all of my sample libraries. Instead of, using some existing orchestral version or me having to go out and hire an orchestra myself. So basically what we would do is we would take these pieces, these classical pieces, I would mock them up, and then I would trailerize them, adding huge explosions, or if, like the Vivaldi, for example, was just a small chamber ensemble that plays it. It's, mostly strings, or in fact, it might be all strings. And so the orchestration I did of it was, instead of a small chamber string ensemble, it was a huge string section, plus tons of brass and woodwinds and percussion and choir and whatever you could throw in there. And then I added tons of synths and explosion sounds and gigantic drums and all the stuff that trailers have. And you give it this, like trailer music has a specific structure to it. You know, they kind of all sort of sound the same. You've probably noticed as you've watched 1,000 trailers.
Yeah.
So you basically have to get that Vivaldi piece to follow that trailer structure, and usually culminates in the end with a gigantic rise and then a big explosion or something. So I did that, and I had that piece lying around in fact, that one was originally it was a custom project for something along several years before the John Wick thing happened. So they hired me to create this thing, and they didn't use it. And then I got to keep it, and it was just sitting in my library for a long time. And then I guess there was a search. So all the trailer music, or the trailer production companies, the people who are actually making the trailers, send out music searches to all the different trailer music houses who represent composers who make that music. So they'll get a whole bunch of music from all these different people, and they'll try all different stuff, and they'll be like, oh, wow, I guess I really like this Vivaldi thing. Let's do something with that. So they liked the Vivaldi one, and I think I ended up having to do lots and lots of revisions for that to give them what they needed, and ultimately they ended up using it. So then John Wick 3 came around. They wanted to do the same idea, so they chose a different Vivaldi piece and used the same concept with it. And in that case, instead of it being, this might be why I was credited on the third one and not on the second one, is they actually approached me and hired me to make a piece for them.
Right.
So they said, we want this different Vivaldi piece here. Go take this and...
Sort of commissioning you to do it.
Exactly. And yeah, that's how that happened. And luckily, they liked what I did, and they ended up using it, because still a lot of times they'll hire you and they'll, give you your demo fee and say, nah, we're going to do something completely different or whatever. We'll hire someone else to do the same thing that we wanted you to do. So yeah, really fortunately that thing ended up working out.
I think both are really great trailers.
Thank you.
And the music plays a big part in them. And I think trailers are a really sort of interesting art form, because they are kind of just commercials for your movie, but at the same time, they also have to sort of function on their own as a piece of entertainment. And so I was wondering what your sort of schedule for that sort of thing, like what sort of time frame are you guys on? And from what I heard from you, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, obviously, but it seems like they chose the music before they associated images with it. And I was just wondering I have no idea what that process is like.
Sure. So I'll say that most of the time trailers are not custom pieces. So that was sort of unusual. Maybe 5 to 10% of the time they'll do custom stuff. But a lot of the time it's just they send out these searches to all the trailer music houses and ask for music. Whichever one is their favorite, they'll just use that one. So typically trailer composers are not writing music for a specific trailer. They just write stuff that sounds like trailer music in this style. Here's an action cue, here's a drama cue, whatever. So usually there's no relationship between the music and the whatever it's being made for until they're actually put together. In the case of custom work, when they were developing the trailer for John Wick, they probably put a pieced a trailer together. They may have even temped it with their own Vivaldi cut or whatever. Maybe they used the John Wick 2 cue that I had done and temped that in or something. So they had an idea of what they wanted. And then they commissioned the piece for me to actually create it, So yeah, I guess that's typically how the two options of how it works.
Another question that I was sort of wondering is, you're also credited on a few other projects as an additional arranger. And I'm not versed in how the music business sort of works. And I was wondering if you could explain what that is and how that relates to composing and stuff like that.
So I guess I'll preface that with the way credits work for composers in film is sort of silly, I guess. There is if you're working on like a visual effects team or any other facet of of the film, usually there will be some lead person who runs the thing, and then there'll be a team of people under them who are credited for whatever it was they actually did. With music, you have the composer listed as the person who makes all of the music, basically. And that is sometimes the case, but most often not, usually because there's simply not enough time to score. We might have 4 or 6 weeks to score an hour and a half of music or 2 hours of music. And it's just not enough time for one person to do it. So they bring on a team of, or usually, these big composers have a team of additional composers. And they basically, the lead composer will delegate who scores what, So basically you have a team of people actually writing the music to the film. And it really depends on the lead composer, how they do that. Some people just let the additional composers do whatever they want, as long as it's sort of in the right style. Other times the lead composer will write a bunch of themes, and they say, okay, whenever this person's in the scene, you have to use this theme there, or this instrumentation, or whatever it is.
Right.
And I guess depending on how high up you are in the hierarchy of their team, and depending on who they're working for, that may determine the credit that you get. So additional composer is the highest credit you can get under being the actual composer. Additional arranger would be lower than that, or just like MIDI programmer, or all these other things. So a lot of the time when you see additional arranger or MIDI programmer or synth producer or something like that, it's usually people actually writing some of the music.
Interesting.
However, that is not always the case. Some people do delegate very specific things. So you might have, the composer might actually sketch out the whole scene that they want, using all the melodies and whatever. They might sketch it out just with piano and flute or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll say, okay, go take this thing and expand it. So, it's using a full orchestra and synths and whatever it needs for that thing. So that might be an example of an additional arranger. Or someone might, this is very unusual, but some people use notation software to score, like Sibelius or Finale. So those are that software designed specifically for creating parts for live musicians who are going to be recording it on a recording session, or performing it live. And the sounds that they have in those are typically not great, but it'll sound like, a video game from the 90s, probably, in terms of the quality and realism of the sound.
Right.
So someone might mock something up and have it sound like that, and then send it off to a MIDI programmer to reprogram everything that they've done using the best sounding sample libraries to give it, the most realistic sound. So yeah, those are kind of the different things that, or I guess maybe one other example would be if the composer has scored a scene and completed it, and then additional arranger might be someone who the composer says, okay, this other scene needs very similar music. So I'm going to just give you this whole cue. I'll give you all the MIDI stuff from it, and just rearrange it so it fits this other scene. That's probably more common, let's say, in television, where you just have episodic stuff and it's just recycling the same music every episode.
Same like beats sort of placed over.
Exactly. So you might need to extend something by a few beats, or shorten it, or make it bigger in a moment or smaller in a moment, whatever it is.
Yeah, that kind of reminds me of this one interview of Hans Zimmer where he basically wasn't able to at first send the Dark Knight score to the Oscars because he attached way too many people to it, because there were just so many people that were on it.
Yeah.
So he had to sort of consolidate that a bit.
Yeah, I mean, he was the one who really kind of spearheaded the movement of creating music factories. And I think, for better or for worse, he's really known for having big teams who work for him and, enable the quantity of music that he produces.
You've also worked in television, and I was wondering how you came to be involved with those projects and the difference in process for that than it as compared to features.
So the first big project I worked on was the How to Train Your Dragons TV series, and that was working for John Paisano. I guess that came to me just because he was who I happened to be working for, and that was the project he needed help with. In terms of how the process may be different for TV than film. For that project, ideally, aside from there was more comedy in the show than there was in the films. So and there wasn't a whole lot of comedy music in the films. So that was one place where there was like a big difference. I had to we had to come up with a comedy sound for it. But in terms of like the big action stuff or the emotional stuff, ideally they wanted us to sound like John Powell. They wanted it to be as if John Powell was scoring that show. Maybe the only difference would have been just the amount of music that was required, and the deadline is probably tighter. I would imagine Powell probably had a lot of time to work on those films. But I think that's that's different from a lot of other TV. Like if you're watching some drama or some procedural show, the music is going to sound different than film music does.
Right.
And so in that regard, process will be a bit different. There might be, different sound palettes you use. There's more of just like a bed of sound going under things, and then like a big rise at the end of a scene or something. But in many ways, I think it's probably pretty similar, the process between, TV and film.
And just to sort of speak specifically on your preferences as a composer, what sort of instruments do you like to use? Are you a big synth guy? And because obviously the demands of whatever you're working on are going to overshadow whatever you kind of want to do.
Sure.
But sort of what do you personally like to bring to the table?
Well, my hero is John Williams.
Good choice.
Most composers' hero is John Williams. Although there are a lot of people whose hero is Hans Zimmer, and their sounds are very, very different. When I have the opportunity to, I like to bring music that is musically interesting, if that makes sense. A lot of score these days is based on synth sounds, or even if it's not synth, maybe it's orchestral sounds, but it's creating some kind of texture. Usually harmonically, it's not very complex. It might just be one chord going through the whole thing, just some drone, and then some stuff on top of that drone. Or it might be sort of like a pop style chord progression, like a 4-chord progression that you might hear in a pop song, but is produced in sort of a cinematic way.
Mm-hmm.
When you listen to John Williams' music and the music of the previous generations, that wasn't the case. This sort of like drone, pop chord progression thing is something that probably started maybe in the late 80s or certainly by the 90s. And then it's just become more and more extreme ever since. So when I can, I like to bring complex harmonies and really, fancy orchestrational stuff with string runs and doing things that orchestras actually do, as opposed to using an orchestra to do things that it really wasn't intended to do. And using music as the tool to tell the story instead of technology as the tool. And as you were saying, sort of, especially these days, there's no way around, being tied to the technology. But music can do so much without technology. And I devoted my life to the pursuit of music, not to the pursuit of computers and synths and stuff. Right. So yeah, I think that's the thing that I hope to bring to the table. And once in a while, I actually get to do that.
Good choice for who to make your musical hero.
Well, thanks. I'm glad you agree.
This is sort of wrapping up a little bit. We have asked every one of our guests how the coronavirus has affected them, and depending upon what department you're in, whether that's more of a behind the scenes or on set work, it's been to varying degrees to which they've not been able to do their work. Mm-hmm. And so I was wondering how that's affected your workflow, and positive or negative stuff that's brought you.
The biggest effect has just been less work. Because there's less stuff being produced. However, I've been once lockdown began, I expected to have no work at all. And I was really surprised that there is stuff still happening. Part of that has to do with music is still needed for anything that was in production prior to lockdown beginning.
Right.
But also there is some stuff still being produced, in particular animation. So I'm working on a film right now, an animated film. And I think that animation is really thriving right now because everyone can sort of work from home. And in terms of other sort of effects, I work from my home studio, and most composers work just independently from a studio. So you don't have to worry about going on set where there are supposed to be 100 people and that not being possible, or having to find a way around that. Also, I don't have a team of people that I work with. Some composers, like Hans or whatever, they'll have all these people who are in their studio, and engineers and, assistants and all this stuff. Since I don't have that, I didn't have to find workarounds for that. But I imagine a lot of people did. There are things like doing live recording sessions that I couldn't really do, or if I did, it would have to be just a one person recording remotely from there, having to use someone who has their own recording setup. So that's still possible, but I haven't needed to do a whole lot of that this year. Yeah, I think there was just one recording session that I did that way. Other than that, I think because of my traditional workflow, just how I typically work, coronavirus hasn't affected me that much. I think just aside from the availability of work to be done.
Mm-hmm. So quantity has been affected more than quality.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's really great information to hear. Thank you so much for coming on and answering our questions.
Sure.
And so that was Ritchie Kohan, and he worked on the trailers for John Wick Chapter 2 and 3. And thanks for coming on. Thanks to Ritchie Kohan for talking with us. He was super cool to talk with. It was a little bit of a short interview, but...
how short was it?
It was like 20 minutes. Something like that.
That's a respectable length. No, but, Ritchie, he's a busy guy. He's got a lot on his plate. And he said, Parth, I'll give you 20 minutes max. We'll talk about Solo, in, out.
Exactly. And as you just heard, we did in fact talk about Solo, a Star Wars story, the best idea put to film, perhaps. Everybody wants a Han Solo movie not starring Harrison Ford.
Parth is a part of the advertising team.
What?
You're part of the Solo advertising team. You're just like really late to the game. You're trying to get a resurgence of popularity.
Like the rest of the Solo advertising team, I'm really terrible at my job, and am directly responsible for the fucking failure of my movie. But that's neither here nor there.
This means you work for Disney, right?
We don't have anything to cut to. I can't use that trope anymore.
So Walt Disney, anti-Semitic? The rumors? Can you confirm them?
The synopsis for this movie, which we didn't get into before the interview, is after returning to the criminal underworld to repay a debt, John Wick discovers that a large bounty has been put on his life. Which is succinct, as these synopses tend to be.
I just watched it, and so I can corroborate that synopsis.
Mm-hmm. And so I guess you want to know some production history?
If you have it right in front of you. Like, if you have to get it from wikipedia.com and then read it verbatim, then no interest. But if it's original, if you can just like improv.
Let's see what I can do. Well, in February 2015, the directors of the first film, Chad Stahelski and David Leitch, had begun development on a John Wick sequel. The president or the CEO of Lionsgate, John Feltheimer, said that they viewed John Wick as a multiple title action franchise. And Derek Kolstad, the screenwriter for the first film, returned for the second film. And the sequel is greenlit. Originally, it was to be released in the middle of 2016, but then it ended up getting pushed back to February 2017. Keanu Reeves trained in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and they filmed, again, mostly in New York City, although as the film takes place in Rome.
They filmed in Rome.
A majority of the film, they filmed in Rome. We live in New Jersey.
The
So
state.
we were the home of John Wick for a bit.
Keanu Reeves was here.
It's true. He lived in my house for that.
Really?
It was a time.
It was like a foreign exchange student. He just
like this is something people don't really know about Keanu Reeves. They're all like, "Wow, he's such a nice guy. He's worked on these really great, influential, big movies." And
but what they aren't talking about,
but what they don't know is that he's a huge fan of Solo as well. So we were laughing it up together.
So you're telling me Keanu Reeves is featured on the interview with John Wick 2 trailer composer?
Well, I mean, he wasn't there, but
in spirit, he was also
yeah.
supportive of the movie Solo.
Yeah, no, I mean, when he was living at my house,
I have a direct quote here from Keanu Reeves.
Do that, yes, please.
I'm gonna include my impression also.
Oh, this will be lovely.
I love the movie Star Wars. Oh, excuse me. All right, reset. I love the movie Solo: A Star Wars Story. It's a great film. Watch it. That's an order from me, Keanu Reeves, actor in such films as The Matrix and the John Wick franchise. And have a nice day.
I thought it
End
was
quote.
Speaking just then.
Yeah, no, I just thank you for listening to that audio clip. No, I just
Oh, that was an audio clip.
I recorded him saying that. He didn't know I was wearing a wire. It was strapped to my chest.
I thought you were saying you were wearing a wig.
Let it be known that I'm not wearing a wig. Wait, right. Parth, you can see me. Do you know something I don't?
Well, I mean, we're social distance podcasting. I can't reach over and tug on those hair strings of yours.
Do you want to?
If
you could, would you?
Maybe you can join me and Keanu Reeves in talking about Solo. Speaking of Keanu Reeves, let's get back to John Wick Chapter 2.
We better.
Story for the
topic of the day. A Solo, it's run its course.
Let it die.
No further mention required.
We'll see about that. Anyways, would you like to know the budget for this film? How much it made?
So the budget was $40 million US.
Wait, how'd you know that?
But the box office was $171.5 million US. That's 4 times their investment. That's called capitalism.
But yeah, it has pretty much double the budget of its predecessor and made more money. And I guess
business, baby.
Now we can get into our thoughts.
I read some one-star reviews. I didn't copy any of them down, but I just wanted to take away my the unanimous decision. And there was a lot more people who didn't like this movie compared to people, and they felt a lot stronger than people who didn't like the
dogs die in this movie. Spoilers.
Someone said, they were like, this franchise has a strange infatuation with killing animals. And I was like, no animals die in this movie. Like, that happened once last time. So quit bringing up old wounds, reviewer.
Bringing up old wounds? John Wick 2? Parallel?
Can I state a gripe?
With the film?
Yeah, it's not just a life gripe.
Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
I'm on topic.
It's not with Lucasfilm's decision to not market Solo properly.
Moving on. So John Wick, the third one is called John Wick Parabellum. Is that correct?
It's called John Wick
Part
Chapter 3 Parabellum. It was originally called John Wick Parabellum because movie studios have some weird aversion to calling the third film in a franchise the third film.
Thank you. Because that was part of my complaint. Because I thought it was like an Aliens, Alien 3 kind of thing.
Although what could Alien 3 really call itself? I think a better example would be Blade 2, Blade Trinity, or...
Well, because there's like an inherent marketability to being like, the thing you liked, again, here's the second time. But then the third one, you need to put a new spin on it. Okay, it's like if someone comes in to the movie theater and they see John Wick colon Parabellum, they're gonna be like, I'll know who this John Wick guy is, but I doubt that there's any past films that we would have needed as knowledge to move forward with this. But if they see John Wick 3, they're gonna be like, well, I don't have the necessary skill set to enjoy this. So it's manipulating the moviegoers.
I hate it when things are not kept in like line.
Yeah.
Like, it's really annoying to me. Like, if John Wick 2 wasn't named John Wick Chapter 2, it was named like John Wick, some other Latin subtitle, right?
Mhm.
It'd be less bothersome to me because
I
they
just
only
need
named it.
continuity.
They only named it John Wick Chapter 3 - Parabellum after there was a big outcry about it, and then renamed it John Wick Chapter. At first, it was John Wick Parabellum.
Mm-hmm.
It's just
it's just like if you introduce a numerical element, stick to it.
Yeah.
If like one of the episodes in the Skywalker saga was like, no, we aren't episode 9. We're just like we're condemning that ordering system. We're just the Rise of Skywalker now. You'd be like,
or
well, that makes
it's like Solo 2, Solo, the next one, right? Like why just Solo 3?
Just be
right?
Solo 3.
There's supposed to be a trilogy of Han Solo film.
No, Parth, this has to be a joke.
No, I'm not joking.
Why? Who asked for this? Not me.
It's me.
Want to hear something sad, Parth?
Is it about Star Wars?
It's about Solo, more specifically. I saw Solo
because this is actually supposed to be about John Wick Chapter 2.
I saw Solo twice in the theaters, 2 days in a row, because the first day.
You are part of the like $8 that it made.
I'm part of the problem. Yeah, it's the first time I fell asleep, and then I was like, "Damn, I got to fill in the gaps," and I don't want to. The world an opportunity to spoil the great Darth Maul mix-up, so I went back the next night before the internet had a chance to foil my my plans.
I actually don't hate Solo; it's fine.
That Darth Maul shit at the end is pretty stupid, though.
We should probably get back to our main point. Do you have any other reviews, or should we get into our thoughts on the film?
We should get into our thoughts. The takeaway from the reviews was just people's main complaint was, we liked the first one, and we still like Keanu Reeves a lot. It's not his fault, but this movie has no story. And the first one got away with it because it introduced like a new style of action film, but this one barely expands upon that. So we're mad at it. 1 star.
Yeah. Well, I'll ask you then. What I've seen this movie many, many times. Again, I saw this.
Give me a real ballpark number, an approximation on how many times you've seen it.
I honestly don't know.
But like over 20?
Maybe. I don't know. Well, okay, so here's the thing. I was such a big fan of the first movie. So then when a second movie was announced, I was like, this is awesome. When the second movie was coming out, I got one of my friends, one of our shared friends. I showed him the first John Wick, and he was like, "Oh, this is awesome!" And then we actually, what we had planned was like, okay, I was gonna go out to his house right after school. We watched the first John Wick, and then we'd go to the theater together
to see the second one.
Sure. And I went to his house. We watched the first movie.
Great. And according to plan thus far.
Exactly. And my dad and I had bought the tickets already, so we had the tickets in our hand, right?
But then was there like a plane crash or something?
No. We get to the theater. We get dropped off at the theater.
Wow.
And then the usher's like, "Are you 17?"
and you know what we were?
No. You know what we were?
16?
We were 16.
Isn't it so stupid that you can't see a rated R movie unsupervised until age 17?
It's so ridiculous. I mean, like, even especially with like John Wick. Like there's nothing in there that's gonna like scar a 15-year-old any more than if they were 17.
But Parth, there was like almost nudity in this one.
It's true.
I was surprised when that lady started getting undressed. I was like, all right, this movie's about to earn its R rating, and then they didn't capitalize.
I think it's tasteful.
It's tasteful. I always wonder when it's like right on the edge. I was like, I wonder if the actress just like was like, I would love to be in this movie, but I won't show my boobs for you.
She's and then Italian.
Oh, so are you saying that all Italian women will show their boobs to anyone?
No, it's not Italian women.
Seems like a broad generalization.
Italian films are like
very breast focused.
I'll say this, they're European.
European beaches are topless from my limited experience. I went to Spain as a 12-year-old, and boy, were my eyes opened.
So anyways, we were turned down by the usher, and I had to call my dad.
Oh, and take the walk of shame home.
Can you watch the movie with us? And he was like, no, I can't, because my brother had something to do and he had to be there. And So then I called like a family friend of ours who I had seen the first film with, who was like a friend of my dad's, and he was like,
"Were they 21?
They're like a little younger than my dad, but like they're an adult."
Oh, perfect.
And I was like,
Parth knows a lot of adults.
Do you want to
come watch a movie with me and my child friend?
We went to the 9:00 something showing of it.
Oh wait, did you have to do the next showing, or did he?
Because he couldn't come for that showing.
So did you and Alex just like look at each other in that movie theater for 2 hours?
No, we went to
a different movie.
No, we went to the McDonald's. We walked there. That was closest. Waited for my dad to be able to pick me up. Came home, played in my. I was gonna say played. I meant to say played video games in my basement, but I just
played in your basement.
We had a little play date.
Thus begging the question, what were they doing down there?
We were excited to see a film, and that film was Solo, a Star Wars story.
It gets better every time. Yo, this is like the new subplot of the podcast. It's like whenever the other person isn't prepared, like springing Solo on them.
So we waited for like 2 hours, then went to go see the film, and we were, I guess we'll just get into my initial thoughts when I first saw it. We were blown away. We were not blown away, but we were thoroughly entertained. And
I think you probably just like weren't like mentally prepared for it because like you were 16 compared to 17.
Well, it's okay to go if you have an adult with you.
Yes, which you did because you have a lot of old men in your life. Can you confirm that?
I can. How else did you think I got into the marketing team for Solo?
Yes, and yeah, you work for Disney. We got it. Sorry, continue with your initial thoughts. You were pleased.
I really like this movie. I think.
Do you think it's better than the first one?
Expands upon what I really liked about the first movie. I think pacing-wise, it's not as good. Well, I mean, if it's a quality film, I'll be yelling that just in the middle of the theater.
But I'll only be in the film at all if I'm over 17.
Right. If it's an R-rated film,
which I'm not,
you will not break the law.
Parth, I have some news to break. I'm a child. I know I look mature, but I'm 13.
Oh.
And so all those rated R movies we went to together,
it's awkward.
Illegal. So your lawyers will be in contact with my lawyers, and
I got Disney lawyers on my payroll, bitch.
We'll work out a settlement agreement, and I'll promise to not expose Walt Disney's cryogenically frozen body under Walt Disney World in Orlando, Florida, if you pay me off with a lot of hush-hush money.
Okay. Well, we can discuss this afterwards.
So my thoughts on the film?
Yeah.
To be quite frank, having just watched the... I know. Having just watched John Wick, we said I liked it a lot. This one, I liked less.
How significantly less?
I hate to agree with the Amazon reviewers because they're like the enemy of this show. We are laughing at them, not with them. I think there's some validity to the statement of it's a lot like what you loved from the first one, but just like a new version of that.
For me, I think
it's the same director.
Well, it's one of the directors.
Oh, were there two directors in the first one?
Well, yeah, the first director, Chad Stahelski and David Leitch were the directors of the first one.
Can't you not have two listed directors and then against some rule?
So David Leitch was only credited as a producer on that movie. Well, you can. They kind of changed the rules a bit, I think, because of the Kohan brothers.
This sounds like such a dumb technicality. Or what about the Wachowskis? Do you have to be like a common name, or you have to be siblings?
I have no clue. David Leitch went to direct Atomic Blonde, and then to direct Deadpool 2. Actually, he might have done Deadpool 2 first. I can't remember honestly. So he kind of went off on his own direction, but Chad Stahelski stuck it out with John Wick, and I think it found its tone more. I think this is a more funny movie than the first one, and not in a like we're gonna throw jokes in for no reason. Kind of just like the world is kind of inherently a little amusing, and I think that works in its favor. And I like the look of this movie. I think it goes deeper into the like neon sort of incredibly stylistic view of the world, which I really dig. So I was in for that. And I just think the action is just so much better.
Yeah, I agree. Like the opening action set piece of the car chase was freaking awesome. And then like the final battle, I guess, in like the Illusion Museum, I thought that was like that also freaking awesome. I think my problem is just how like in so many ways it's very similar to the first one. And do you know how with a sequel you either have to like do everything better from what you did the first time, or you have to reinvent it and move in a new direction? I guess most of my problems are with the story, but we'll get to that later.
I mean, I think the story, again, I think much like the first one, it's what it needs to be, but it does lose steam in the middle of the movie.
I think this one is more visually impressive.
Oh, for sure. I mean, that whole like montage sequence.
Which one?
Where
there's so many montages.
Well, the montage with like the all of the assassins trying to kill him and the pencil.
Yes, and
whatnot.
I mean, like the pencil callback.
I think what's great about this movie is that it creates a whole bunch of different visual scenarios, and it does what a lot of modern action movies don't, which is fucking use your surroundings.
Yes.
And if you look at something like Jackie Chan or something like that, if you ever look at his movies, the reason his action sequence, not the one reason, but one of the reasons that his action sequences are so good is because they can't just be placed anywhere in the movie.
They're specific to that location.
They're specific to that location, to the items of that location. It's all very specific, and that makes it that much more engaging in my eyes.
Parth, you want to know who I saw in this movie?
Yes?
Our friend Luca Mosca.
Yes! Wasn't that fun?
You want to know a comedic beat I really liked in this movie?
Sure.
It made me laugh. I saw it and I was like, when John Wick and Common, you know, the rapper, he's in this movie. They're on opposite levels. I think he's
so good in this movie. I love him.
Yeah, sure. And is he in some like crime show, or am I crazy?
I'd be careful.
Like Hawaii 5-0. Can
you know how you messed that up.
I know what I did last week. Yeah, so we don't know what show Common's in, but we'll answer that question next week. But the beat where him and John Wick are walking on different levels, and then they have to be like quiet.
The silencer.
Yes,
isn't that so good? Everybody in the theater was laughing when that happened.
It's great.
I think it's awesome.
Also, I love the dramatic tension of them being in really crowded places and like wanting to kill each other. Like on the subway is a good example. And them just like exchanging tense glances. In the last movie, I was like, every time they break out into a fight, like the entire like public disperses. But in this movie, I was happy that like when they fought on the subway, there was a bunch of people around, and then they just like stood off to the side, because that's what you would do to randos for trying to murder each other in a public place. Is you wouldn't get involved. You would let that run its course and then leave as soon as possible. Yeah, and that's what they did.
I think with this movie, its worst action sequences in the catacombs, when he has an assault rifle. So Patrick Willems, if any of our listeners know of him, he makes YouTube videos, and he did a video rating all of the John Wick action sequences. And he made a very good point, which is that assault rifles just should not be in a John Wick movie, because every time that they're there, you're the fun of a John Wick action sequence is the specificity of it. And assault rifles are too easy. Your opponent's going to be too far away for it to be cool, and it's going to be too quick.
Yes. Because that's what assault rifles are good at.
Exactly. So I think there's that one awesome moment where he like uses a shotgun and like pins somebody to the floor, reloads, and then shoots them.
Yeah,
I think that's an awesome. Like there's some awesome moments in there, but I think midway through the movie, it has a little bit of a slump. But I think that on the whole, I enjoy this a lot more than the first because it has more of a fun tone to it. It's not like a Marvel
It's not
movie.
like My Wife is Dead anymore. It's like My Wife is Dead and I've moved on.
Two, the variety. There's a higher variety of action sequences that are well done.
Mm-hmm.
And then three, I like that it sort of builds the world out more. And it's kind of this fun, almost retro looking, like, with like telephone operators and like.
So with the telephone operator thing, when that first happened, I was like, does John Wick take place in the 50s? And then I was like, no. They have cell phones. But then I also, in that moment, noticed none of the characters have iPhones. They all have, like, weird flip phones that say Verizon Wireless on top. So I feel like there's a partnership there.
Also, Ryan Johnston in in a video, I think for Variety, said that you are only allowed to use iPhones in a movie if they are not used by the bad guy, I think.
But John Wick, I mean, that's funny and good information. But John Wick pulled out his cracked phone and it had Verizon Wireless written across the top. And I was like,
product placement.
Product placement. Jeez, not my
or
brightest
brand
moment.
Endorsement, I guess.
You want to know my favorite action beat? It was when John Wick pushed his. Also, this movie answered the question of where'd his second car go? It's when he got his first car. No, but this was with the second car, I think. No, it was with the first car. Yeah, it's when he pushes the door out and then slams on the brakes and then the motorcycle guy goes through it.
Yeah.
That was sick. Yeah, this was really a reunion for all the lost cars from the first one.
Yeah.
The gang got back together, but he destroyed all of them.
Yes.
Wait. Does Aurelio repair the car for John Wick 3?
Well, we'll get into that, won't we?
Here, can you answer a question for me?
Mm-hmm.
What's the name of the main antagonist? Santonio? D'Antonio. He's like, hey, I have this...
The marker.
My problem with the marker was it was for like the impossible task. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was kind of like a throwaway line that they thought they could use to like thread into the original content. Mm-hmm. Much like how in Star Wars A New Hope, they're like, the Clone Wars. And then they made a whole movie. And then they made it into a whole movie. So I thought that was kind of patchwork. But here's where I was confused. He kills the sister, and we're only at like an hour into the movie, and I was like, where do we go from here? Why does he want to kill John Wick now?
Because he wants to tie up the loose ends. Well, there's two reasons. One is the story reason of he needs to tie up loose ends because he wants to be head of the family, or not the family, but he wants to
take her seat at the table, yeah.
And the other reason is because we need a movie.
Is he a part of the third one?
No, he's dead.
I know, but they kept talking about how he was going to like rule New York and stuff. And I was like, well, there's not enough time to discuss that in this movie. So
no, because what happens is he
gets shot in the fucking face. He's gone. Right. He's donezo.
So the next movie is sort of the ramifications of that. And that's kind of why it is kind of patchwork. And it is kind of like a contrivance. Part of the reason this movie doesn't, in sort of a story sense, work as well as the first movie is that the first movie has a very clear motivation.
Also, it has the origin story, which always helps moving forward.
But it's like you have your clear motivation of once they kill his dog, you're like, okay, I buy this, fine. But this movie doesn't have that. But
I agree.
What it does have that I like is that Chad Stahelski has talked sort of at length about how he doesn't like in action movies how things don't come at a cost really to the main characters. They like sort of go down their paths. And then once they're done, they're like able to like step back and be like, oh, like we're fine,
Mm-hmm.
But that's not how it should work. Like it should, you like, once you're in something, you only go deeper and deeper. And so I kind of like that, like, as a result of the first movie happening, he has to like stuff from his past will come back to haunt him.
Yeah,
And
especially since in the first movie they kept saying like, if you come back, like you're back for good, and he's like, nope, just doing this last job, and then like the warnings were true.
And that's what I like, is that it is a contrivance, I'm not gonna lie, but it is also in keeping with everything that happened in the first movie. And it's like, I really like it when you go further. You kind of said that like you have two choices when making a sequel, which is to reinvent the wheel or do what the
or
first
to
movie
do
did,
everything you did last
like,
time but better.
And I actually kind of disagree. I don't think this does the same thing. I think because it has the same elements, but that's because John Wick is a very limited series. There's not that much you can do with a hitman, fundamentally. But what it doesn't kill another dog. It doesn't like.
I'm so happy he doesn't get a new wife and kill her or kill his current dog.
That to me would have been redoing it. But like this is sort of like as a consequence of whatever happened in the first movie, that directly feeds into the plot of this next movie. And I think the best sequels do that. Like The Dark Knight does that. Godfather Part 2. One of the more underrated sequels in my eyes, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, does that. And it's sort of, it doesn't have the same structure as the first movie does, which is why I like it.
I was just about to make a comment about how he like doesn't kill women as easily as he kills men, because that like I think she's deaf because she does sign language the whole time. He doesn't kill her, but he kills everyone else like so effortlessly and remorsefully.
I mean, he leaves her to like bleed out and die.
She had a stab wound. She had a broken arm and a stab wound through her hand. She was fine,
I guess.
No, I'm not saying it as a bad thing. I'm just making an observation.
John Wick respects women, so
we can't criticize him for that.
No, and while this is a action franchise led by a man, directed by men, written by men, starring mostly men,
and being commented by two men.
It's a feminist franchise.
When we're like 40 minutes in the movie and the woman cuts herself in the hot tub, I was like, she's going to kill herself so he can't. And then John Wick is going to be punished. But then I was like, but that's so stupid because she needed to be dead. But she just got killed indirectly by him. But because he didn't deliver the finishing blow, he's going to be hunted. But that he shot her in the head, not to worry. And just proving that John Wick has no problem killing. Well, I mean, the damage was done. He was just like further damaging a corpse.
It does what it needs to do, and it sets up a very interesting thing for the sequel, because it sets up that everybody in New York is a hitman and is coming for John Wick.
It alluded to that at the end.
And I'm wondering what your thoughts on that are and what your excitement level is for the third one.
Well, I liked the bit about how all the homeless people work for Lawrence Fishburne.
Yes, isn't that great?
And then to expand upon that even further, by when Winston and him are talking in that public place, and then everyone like tips their hand and is like, yeah, we're hitmen too. You've 1 hour, run, bitch. So I wonder how he's gonna get out of this pickle, because it seems like everyone in the world wants to kill him. But is that the consequence for breaking the Continental rules?
Yeah.
Are you ready to give a star rating?
I give this an 8.
What, didn't you have the first one an 8.5?
I did, didn't I? Maybe this is an 8.5. I think on the whole, it's about as good. But I enjoy this a lot more, and despite its like narrative flaws, I guess.
I didn't love the antagonist. I thought he was kind of...
He is pretty bland.
I thought he was just brought in out of nowhere. We didn't get to know him. I was nervous at the beginning that we were just going to be fighting the brother to Vigo.
Isn't that so funny, though?
I'm so glad they came to a peace. They put their differences aside. The action sequences were awesome, but just something was missing for me. I'm on board. I enjoyed myself. I'm going to give it a 6.5.
Fair.
All right. Tell us about our next episode. It's gonna be John Wick Part 3, Parabellum.
Let's hope. Unless Disney calls me and they're like,
you can't work for us anymore. You can't work on marketing Solo 2.
No. Just the opposite, actually. They're like, Parth, you can't be out there promoting Lionsgate films. You can't be out there promoting
Your word is too strong.
you your outreach, your impact. It's too great. We're going out of business. You're killing us. Actually, our next episode is going to be on the highly underrated film, I would say, Solo, the Star Wars story.
Do we want to do it after all this build-up?
I don't know. I kind of want this to be a running joke, but I don't know.
All right, yeah, because once we actually review Solo, and then
maybe when we like graduate college and we're like, maybe it's time to retire this.
Or if one of us dies under mysterious circumstances, we can do.
When we graduate college, maybe when I graduate college, because guess what, folks? Trent is trying to take a gap year.
Yeah, leave of absence, baby. Class of 2024. Parth and I are breaking up. Only in the eyes of Rutgers University, because they can't keep us apart.
It's a sad moment, but we will prevail.
Parth is officially my wise elder. Before he was just wise.
When's your birthday?
January 5th, Capricorn. You?
You are older than me.
Ugh, bummer.
April 28th.
Oh, so we were both alive for 9/11.
I'm glad that was... Yes.
It could have been either of us.
I suppose so.
Where were you, Parth? Do you remember?
I was with my uncle. Actually, I was with him before he
you were
a plane in.
You were in the North Tower?
I wasn't in the... No. Like, he was... Like, you're misunderstanding what my joke here is.
The joke is that your skin is brown. So that you were somehow involved in the September 11th attacks.
Somebody once asked me if I knew people that were...
And you're like, wrong country.
No, I was like, hell yeah. If somebody comes up and asks me, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Screw it.
You're just encouraging their racism. Huh?
Exactly.
And on that note, we'll see you next week.